Hi guys, it's Karen Marchetti. I've wanted to share this for a while. It's actually a little tiny chunk out of my Flat Factor class, but I wanted to share with you this client quilt. She was so worried about it because it has a wonky border, and she called and asked if I would be able to quilt that, if I was willing to quilt that, and I'm like, sure, that's no problem at all. I can load it flat. So let me share with you how we do that. And this photo is actually taken from the pattern. I needed a perfectly flat photo to show you visually what's wrong with this quilt. So the pattern is Crumbs by me and my sister, and there's nothing actually wrong with the pattern. It's how my client put the borders on that made it wonky. So it presented like this. One border is 59 inches, and its matching border is 57 3/8, and the two side borders are 74 5/8. Which it doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's just about 2 inches that has to get worked in. So I'm going to share how I do my quilting math. And if you're a math person, you might cringe, but I'm not a mather, and this is the best way that I can do it. So you'll see here, I need to make the 59-inch border, make it measure 57 3/8. So in order to do that, I need to know what half of 57 3/8 is. And if you know me, you know I Googled what the decimal of 3/8 is because I'm not a mather. I don't ever need to know this information. So Google came up with 0.375. So 57.375 divided in half is 28.6875. And you know what's coming next, right? I had to Google what 0.6875 was as a fraction. And I don't know how we made it before Google, but apparently we did. So half of 57 3/8 is 28 11/16. So I now know my next step. So the next step would be to take the 59-inch border and fold it in half and find center. So I'm doing that here in the photo. And then you'll see I just place a pin in the center, and that's the 59-inch side. So you'll see in this photo, I have my backing fabric loaded, and I have my batting loaded, and I've stitched a straight line with my channel locks, and I am marking, putting a pin in the center of the batting. So you'll see here, I have my handy tape measure, and I have started it in the center pin, and I'm going to measure out that 28 11/16, which is half of the 57 3/8 inch bottom border. So I'm going to place a pin at the 28 11/16, which is half. So now I will do the same thing on the other half, from the center out to the 28 11/16, and I'll put another pin. Okay, so you'll see now I have the quilt top, and I'm taking the 59-inch side, and I'm matching up my center pin on the batting with the center pin on the quilt top. And I'm just going to try and smooth it out the best I can. You'll see as I pull one side, it pulls the other side. Just smooth it out. I want that exact edge on that pin. I put the pin in, and I want the exact edge on the other pin. So you can see, once I get this pin in, I have some wonky going on, and that's what we're going to work on. Making sure that this quilt gets loaded totally square and flat. So you'll see I just wiggle my fingers a little to kind of find the center of just a little area I'm working with. Smooth it out a little, put another pin. Smooth it out some more, put another pin. And there's no science to this. I just keep the top on that basted line in the batting, and I keep placing pins until it's fairly smooth, and all of that wonk is evenly distributed between the two end pins. So this takes a few minutes. It's actually in fast forward. I don't move that fast, but I wanted you to be able to watch it because it's probably about 20 minutes worth of fixing, and we're condensing it down to this little short video. So I keep doing that. Looks okay. Smooth this out the best I can. You'll see from pulling that in, I now have a little bubble on the right-hand side, and that's fine. We'll work that in too. So I'm just making sure it's nice and smooth over there. Adding a few more pins. So at this point, I'm probably doing a little bit of overkill, but I'd rather have too many pins than not enough pins. And it's okay. It's all personal preference. The more you do this, the less pins you need. Right now, I'm just trying to make sure that that seam line between the border and the quilt is fairly straight. And why not just baste it instead? So now I'll bring the machine over and I will put my channel lock on and I will just baste in that seam line. And I'll, pull the fabric, push the fabric. I just want to make sure that that seam line is also perfectly straight. So a little basting, a little fabric fudging, and this will be fine once it's quilted up. So I'll just finish this out. And again, this is in fast forward, a little faster than I usually go. Okay, so now I'm going to tie off there. And I probably didn't really need to tie off because what I want to do next is come up this side here and come back across the top. And I'm going to take pretty big stitches when I go across the top. So maybe like 2-inch basting stitches. And then I'll come back once I get to the other side. So we'll finish basting this. And they're pretty big. They're probably about 2 inches. When I come back, I will take additional basting between each one of those stitches. And each stitch that you take actually sucks up some of the fabric, believe it or not. It's kind of like magic. So again, I'm stitching between each of those stitches. And you see I'm moving the fabric just ever so slightly, surfing it, pulling it down a little bit as I take the stitch. So we'll finish that up. So now we're doing halves, so that's probably about 1 inch basting. When I get to the end, then I'll come back with my regular normal edge basting. So you see we're doing that final one. That's like how I normally would baste an edge, about 1/4 inch. So I'm going to do that all the way back. And you may have a couple little areas that you still need to work in. That's fine. Just take the time and make sure it's flat and square. It makes all the difference. So now the top is under control. I can take all of those pins out. The top is basted and that first seam is basted. So the pins have no need now. We'll just take them all out. So you can see here, there's still a little bit of wonky going on in this fabric. So my next step is to hit it with a little bit of steam. And I can't stress this enough. When you are steaming fabric, especially like this, a bright pink or a red or a blue or purple, anything that has the ability to run, you should really check with your client first and make sure that it has been pre-washed, because you can make the fabric bleed just by steaming it. So here it is after the steam. You see there's still a little wonky going on in the border. That's fine, but you can see how much that steam sucked up that little green triangle in the corner. It made a big difference there. And then finally, this is after the first pass of quilting. Almost perfect. Just a little bit of working in on the top edge. But the quilt is no longer 59 inches wide. It is now the 57 3/8. So it's equal on the top as it is to the bottom. And here's a picture of the finished quilt. So I hope this has helped you to realize that, a wonky border or a little wonk in your quilt is not the end of the world. You can totally work it in, and it's almost magical. So I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment and let me know how you liked it.